Okay, thank you for tuning in with us today. We have a very special guest. Give me 1 second because I said I was ready, but then I had to do this. Okay. So, I want to introduce you guys and tell me if I say your name wrong, correct me. But Chayadeza.
Chi ye
Chi Chi yeah.
yedza.
Chiedza.
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 Chiedza. Chiedza. Yes.
Chiedza.
Yes.
Now, when I get through with this intro, I'm gonna have you help me with your last name. Tell me now. Ch- say it together for me.
Chiedza. It's okay. You can say
Chiedza
yeah.
and last name
Nya hu ye.
Nahuye.
Nya like mañana.
Nanya,
Nya.
na
Nya
na
like mañana. Nya.
na
Nya like mañana.
na
Like mañana.
na. Uh huh.
Who
Who?
ye.
Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do we say it faster?
Chiedza nyahuye.
Chieza Nahuye.
There you go.
See,
We learn new
I got
things every day. Yes.
yes, that, and I'm embarking on later in life. I'm embarking on embracing other languages, and so
Hmm.
I really want to enunciate correctly,
Yes.
and so I
You're doing
want
a
to be
good job.
corrected when I don't say it. When I don't say it correct, I want to be corrected so that I'm saying it correct.
Yes.
Cha Chayeza.
You keep saying chai. It's chi. Think of
Chiesa.
cheese.
That's what I
Cheese.
like to drink. Chiesa.
Yes.
Chiesa is a certified AI consultant, digital entrepreneurship coach, international speaker, and thought leader who is helping shape the future of work and wealth creation across Africa and beyond. Her work centers on empowering students and young innovators to use digital skills and AI powered business tools to solve real community challenges, not by waiting for the opportunity, but by building it. A daughter of Zimbabwean entrepreneurs, Chiedza career spans over three continents and more than 15 years across fintech, edtech, and technology innovation. She's led high impact projects, designed transformative training programs, and help organizations leverage AI, data, and strategy to drive meaningful, sustainable results. She's also a four-time international bestseller co-author, using her voice to transform pain into power and silence into song, reminding others that healing and leadership often leads with truth. At the heart of everything, Chayareza does a deep respect for has a deep respect for people. She treats individuals like royalty, believing dignity, access, and digital fluency are essential to unlocking Africa's next generation of creators and leaders. Today, we're talking about life lessons, digital fluency, and what it really takes to prepare communities to thrive in an AI driven world. Please join me in welcoming Chia Des Chi.
Chiedza.
You sing it at
Please
the
let me
same
sing it.
time. Yes,
And then one said, Chiedza. Yeah. There
yes.
you go. Chiedza. There you go.
We're gonna make your name the song, and no one would ever say it incorrectly again.
It's all good. Look, I
I
say that we're
love it.
always learning every day. So
That
I know
and
my
we
name is
just,
not that common in this part of the world. So
but
it's
it's
all
okay.
good.
We still love it. As always, sound like a song. And the reason that I don't say it correctly is because she has been deemed LinkedIn's African AI auntie, and this is what not just we have known to come to know and love her for. I look forward to her being the name in every household that has children and young adults, to know that they have an African auntie that's willing to teach them AI to have a really big impact on their life. And so, without further ado, I like to get started today. And my first question that I have for you is, before the titles, the hashtags, and the global stages, who is Chiedeza when the room is quiet?
When the room is quiet, it's changed over the years, but I still go back to the same place: joy and light, because that's what my name means. And in African cultures, there's specific ways that parents have historically given name to their children, also aligning them with their purpose in life. So even when if nobody's looking, I'm always singing, finding ways to find laughter. If you go to every single school I've been through, whether it was in we go primary school and secondary school, where I come from in Zimbabwe, and even in Hong Kong, China, where I finished high school, and even in the US. You ask them, what do you remember about Chiedza? They'll say her laughter and her singing, without a doubt. So that's always how I've always been. But what people don't realize was that laughter and singing was my own internal therapy, because yes, we go through the trials of life, but I found singing and laughter were my saving grace. And my mother even told me that singing is double prayer to God. So that's, I guess, in a way, I'm always communicating with God directly through my songs. Yes. So
I
that's
love
what it is.
it. I
Yeah.
love it. My next question for you is, what life experiences have shaped you long before you ever touched AI or digital entrepreneurship?
Travel. And that's a key one, because even though I grew up in Zimbabwe, I was always that child who wanted to do everything, right? My mom got so tired of my energy. By the time I was 4 years old, I was going to piano lessons, swimming lessons, going to the library, because my mom just needed to get rid of all this energy of Chiedza, right? And then even although I was a chubby child all the way growing up, I did everything, every sport under the sun. You couldn't tell me no. I was in swimming. I was in sports. I was doing everything. In high school, even though I went to what we call it the pink prison, because the walls are literally pink. It's called Arundel School, and
Hmm.
so Arundel is one of the top high schools at the time in Southern Africa, and so even though I was there, I was in every single club. So I made sure that I got to leave the school at least 2 or 3 times a week, be it choir, be it debating, be it bridge playing, be it rowing on the weekends at a local lake that was about 20 kilometers drive away. So with that kind of experiential orientation, when I managed to get a scholarship to go to finish high school in Hong Kong, China, and I lived with students from 250 different countries, that's when my world completely opened up, where I was literally living with the world. And my host family turned out to be Tasmanian Australian, because they had been to Zimbabwe for holiday just before I arrived in Hong Kong. So when they heard that my school was looking for host families, they said, "We want that one." Cheers. So I became part of their family, and they exposed me to so much as well. Again, in my orientation, theater shows all the time. Went to see the Phantom, went to see Cirque du Soleil, Alegria. I still remember Alegria. Anyway, singing and swinging everywhere. And so I've always been that person who lives and learns through experience. So even when came over to the US for the first 7 years in Minnesota, my friends used to ask me, "Do you even go to school here?" Because you never hear. I'm like, why? Because I found ways to travel all over the US for some reason or other, be it through my activism work, not doing racism stuff, to being creating my own independent studies, and even got the school to pay for me to go and play capoeira in Oakland, California for a weekend. So
Boy.
you know what capoeira is?
No.
It's Afro Brazilian martial arts. I've been
Oh,
doing that for like 12 years. Yeah, I'm a
oh
couple
my
of
God. I'm
master.
so excited about
Yeah, pode falar português mais ou menos. And so I
that.
learned languages through singing. That's why
Mhm.
when I was teaching you how to say my name, it's easier to sing it, and it
Yeah.
sticks better.
Yeah.
So even learning how to do dance, also different Latin American style of dancing, be salsa, bachata, cumbia, merengue, all of those. Even samba from Brazil. I learned the lyrics, and I would be singing them fluently. So native speakers will think that I am a fluent speaker. So they come up to me like, "Huh?" And they start speaking to me in Spanish. I'm like, no puedo hablar muito bem. Muchos, well, okay, I mix up the Portuguese and the Spanish sometimes, because I know muito and muchos are different, but anyway, yeah. So that's what's really shaped me in terms of travel, being exposed to so many different cultures and ways of being. But also at the bottom of it all is understanding we're all the same humanity. We all want to be loved, we all want to be understood, all want to be seen, we all want to be heard. And we all love to have joy and laughter in our lives. And so that has carried me through so many different contexts where I've been told, oh, this is a dangerous place. No, never touched me, thank God, to this day. And I've been a bit of a global nomad for the past 30 years. Wow, it's been 30 years since I've, yeah. So that's me in essence.
I love it. Now, and that gives me clarity, and it makes so much more sense on why God aligned us right now as
Mm-hmm.
I'm preparing for my journey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh my God, it was so much to unpack with that one because it's like we align in more ways than I could have ever imagined, but yet so different. And
Mm-hmm.
so I want to talk to you a little bit about your roots. You're a daughter of Zimbabwean entrepreneurs. What did
Yes.
you learn about wealth, dignity, and responsibility by just watching them live? Like, not something that they necessarily taught you, but
Mm-hmm.
by watching them, what did you learn?
I learned directly from my mother, don't ever judge a book by its cover. And I'm one of 8 children that came out of her, right? So by the time I'm number 6. So by the time I came, my parents had been growing businesses for about 3 years. And my parents have always been humble people, never flashy at all. My own mother was usually always wearing like tennis shoes and wrapping around what we call zambias in my language, just like a wraparound around her dress. And she
Mm-hmm.
always had a duku on her head. And so a lot of times people would mistake her as if she was a worker and not the owner. And that's just how my mom was, because she focused on making sure all of her children went to private schools and got the best access to education that she could provide. I even remember in 1980, or was it 82? She actually even flew my brother and my 2 sisters to boarding school, right? And so it's one of those things from my little hometown, which is like a 4 hours drive from the capital city, but my parents could afford that. But it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't so much that they need to flesh out, dress all flashy to in order to do that. So my parents were always ingrained in us that always treat every single person you interact with like royalty, because you never know who they are and you never know who they'll become in the future. So the legacy that I watched my mother, I even 10 years ago when I was still living with her for a bit, it would take us an hour to walk down the street in our hometown because people were running up to her left, right, and center, Mama, hugging her, loving her, kissing her, and everything. And then she'll talk to them onward. My mom will pick up any conversation, ask them about the family, their children, what they're doing, what's making them happy. And then she'd even say, okay, so how do you remember me? Oh, I used to make sure that I washed my underwear and my personal hygiene. Because my mom was a domestic science teacher before she and my dad became business people. So she
Mm-hmm.
always carried that teachingness with her. She still does. She's 82. And she's
Mm-hmm.
still grooming people and even helping them get their driver's licenses and putting them through university. She's a grandmother to 72 orphan children. So that's who my mom is naturally. And she's always been the person who's been industrious. So even though they had the shops, she always had vegetables growing in our garden. To this day, she takes like literally baskets and baskets of vegetables every week to a local children's home. That's just her heart. And she's always been that way, even before I was born. So, in terms of that legacy of what they ingrained in me, treating people like royalty, being generous with what you have, and always just take that moment that to understand that you're not, it's not saying that you're not that important, but there's a bigger picture than just you.
Yeah.
And just be conscious of playing your part in that and what you've been given.
I love that. I remember when you first told me about your mom, it was so many things that resonated. Is she in the States or is she in Zimbabwe?
She's in Zimbabwe.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And she's literally got a garden of medicine growing around her, from moringa trees to the ginger, the turmeric, the lemon trees, the anything you want, my mom's got there. She's got
Maybe
like
I need
five
to go.
different types of leaf vegetables, which are like this long. We talk about organic. I laugh when I look at the store, the versions of collard greens and stuff in our local supermarkets here in the US. My
Mm-hmm.
mom's vegetables from her permaculture fertility methods that she's been using for, I guess, generations.
Mm-hmm.
Her one leaf is longer than my full arm.
Wow.
And I've even got pictures of my nieces like with it overflowing over their arms while they were picking it from my mother's garden.
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah, that's who my mom is, and she has it year round. Now that we put drip irrigation, she has no
Hmm.
worries about water. She's always got water supply,
Hmm.
solar powered borehole. So she's constantly growing all sorts of crops year round.
Wow. It
Yeah.
sounds like we need to plan a trip to go see mommy. Look.
Oh yeah, I keep inviting all my women friends. Are like, hey, my mother says, come to my house. I'll
I
cook
want
for
to go
you.
to Zimbabwe. Look.
Mhm. Don't worry, we'll go visit my mother together. Yeah, I'll take you over
that,
so we can go hang out with my mom
that
and learn
is so
all about
right
her
up my
gardening. Yeah, all her gardening protocols. And actually, her garden is her church.
alley.
Because interestingly enough, even though my mom went to Catholic mission schools and all of that, she broke
Mm-hmm.
away from the church because she just lost faith in the humans who were
Mm-hmm.
talking about Christianity and preaching whatever they're preaching. She says, you know what? I can just have my direct relationship with God. And
Yeah.
I always know that whenever she's in the garden between 5 and 6 p.m. every evening, that's her
Mhm.
time with God.
I'm happy you said that
Mm-hmm.
because my son, the one that you'll be speaking with soon, he's on
Mm-hmm.
his pastoral journey, and we had to have a talk recently because for me it's important that my children knew God and that they
Mm-hmm.
had their own relationship. And so while he was visiting or staying in Houston with me last year,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to find a church that he was able to connect with so that I knew that he had God in his life. Like it's my thing to make sure that my children all know God, but how they decide to structure their relationship or with God is up to them. It's
Yes.
my job to just lead them to him, right? And so right now he's in the new part of religion, and I'm at the end of my religion journey, but at the beginning of my true spiritual journey. I've always been in relationship with God, but
Mm-hmm.
um it's always looked different. And so when you say that about her gardening, I realized like the one of the things that people will learn about me is I love dance the way you love sing.
Mm-hmm.
And like
I
not
love
even
dances too.
my children, my parents, like no one has ever seen me dance. And so when I'm at a place where I feel like my nervous system is a little bit more safe, I know on some of my lives I intend to dance. And
Awesome.
it'll just be for
Like
that.
what
Those,
kind of dancing do you like to
so
do?
I'm more
What kind of
into
music?
like so when I did my Spotify rap this year, you know how they tell you all the different genres you listen to? I
Uh-huh.
listened to over 236 different genres internationally.
You remind me of me because again, it's the mood. If it's whatever makes your body move, that's what
Yes,
I vibe with. I
that's
don't. It doesn't
exactly what
matter
it is.
who's singing. Yeah.
And it can look I have taken like merengue and salsa and like some of the different dances you spoke of.
Mm-hmm.
I've done
Mm-hmm.
some of those, but I lean towards like ballet. My movements are very similar to ballet because I love swimming and I love
Okay.
ballet. And
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't really, I'm not going to say I didn't really, I did not get the opportunity to really try new classes as a kid because my parenting journey started so early that my life, my lessons from 13 was parenting. And
Uh-huh.
so the trying of instruments and different things, I kind of like skipped over, which I'll be trying new things now. But my thing that's gotten me through has always been dance and poetry. Music has always meant so much to me, whether I understand the words, whether I know what they all mean, because I'm quick to go look it up so that I'm not looking and listening to like weird stuff.
Yeah.
But I like what you said about learning the songs is a quick way to learn languages. So now you put on my radar that when I go to different countries to just simply listen to their music, and if I look up the lyrics, I know that these words mean this, and so it
Yep.
already gives you a jump start.
Yeah.
And so that is such a genius idea that anybody can do that most people haven't thought of. Was one of the things I realized last year watching those America's Got Talent shows, that there's all these little Asian kids that can sing songs like Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson and just different songs perfectly, but then they don't speak English. And it's
That's
like,
the funny thing.
and so I want to
And,
do
and,
that
they, and, they, and they and they pronounce it and enunciate perfectly in American English.
because they're singing a song.
Yeah. And
I'm going
then
to
they
go
switch back
somewhere in
into their own
Asia and learn
language.
their
Like,
songs and sing it.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And not be and then like, oh sorry, my language barrier stops there for right now. But I look forward to moments like that. Um, so my next question for you is, how has moving across three continents changed how you see opportunity and access?
For 9 years of my life, the world opened up for me, and it was all a free ride, literally. My parents never paid a cent. I finished high school in Hong Kong, China, 7 years in the United States, did 2 degrees. So, yes, I was on full ride scholarships. So, for that season of 9 years, I was like, the world is whatever I want it to be. And I made sure I took advantage. I mean, I traveled a lot. I did all sorts of experiences. I made all sorts of relationships and networks. But then came another season when I was in Zimbabwe for 14 years, and it seemed like things came to a stop. I flourished in terms of my usual ways of developing relationships with people from all over the world. I found capoeiristas even in Zimbabwe, in Harare, Zimbabwe. I went to the Brazilian embassy when I arrived, and I asked,
Mhm.
"Do you guys have a capoeira group here?" It's like, "Yeah, we do." I was like, "Perfect." So that became my social outlet because it was a continuation of my global experiences. And
Mhm.
actually, the group was mainly a mixture of us local Zimbabweans with the expats who were working in international organizations.
What was the name of the group again?
It was called Capoeira. Well, Capoeira CAP. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Capoeira Forra Seca was the name of the group.
And what does that mean?
It means the capoeira that flows like a floating leaf. So
Uh-huh.
that beauty of when you see a leaf falling from a tree
Uh-huh.
and the gracefulness that it does and is carried on the wind. That's
Uh-huh.
what it means.
Oh, I love that.
So, but capoeira itself is the name of the sport. It's actually the number two sport in Brazil
So
next to
it's a
soccer.
sport. That's what I was trying to
Yeah.
figure out
It's
because
a, it's a sport, but it was created by us Africans who were trying to escape from slave masters. So
mhm,
what they would do, they used to actually kill people. They'd have
mhm,
machetes and even have razor blades in between their toes. And so
mhm,
as they're doing the movements, they're actually slicing and killing people. But in the 1940s, they decided to formalize it as a sport, and it became a non-contact sport. So the way capoeira works is like if I look, I'm kicking at you, you duck
mhm,
under and come back with an alternative. So we
mhm.
basically dancing these moves, which could easily become lethal, but we don't even touch each other.
Nice.
If that makes sense. And the
Yes.
beauty of it is in a circle of music. So you have musicians playing different instruments. Then berimbau, which is the bow with the string, and it has the gourd around it, and you hit it, the wire with a stick, and you have a
Mhm,
pebble that changes the notes on the intonations. That's the berimbau, is the grounding one. Then you go the
nice.
atabaque, which is the drum. Then you have the heko heko, which is like like a washing board. You hear that scraping sign kind of sound. That
Yeah.
one. Then you have an agogo, which is like a cowbell. Oh my gosh, I'm remembering all these names all of a sudden. I just played capoeira in like over 10
That's
years.
because
So
we
it's all
need
like
to
coming up.
learn this.
Thank you. And then also what's the other one? Oh, pandero, the tambourine. So in that context, I'd always be fascinated with all of us singing and clapping or raising the energy, what the impact would have on the two players on the inside, because you only play two people at a time.
Mhm,
And it's almost like we create like a trance-like experience. And it suddenly goes into this flow where the fluidity and the movement and the songs and the music, everything is like dancing together. It's magical. I've experienced it so many times in different countries, different contexts. And there's just something really special about capoeira in that way. And that actually is quite such, it's also internationally embraced. Because if you
mhm.
go to any country, you'll find capoeiristas. No
Oh yeah,
problem.
you have to
And
drop
we,
that in the chat
and we,
because
oh, yeah.
it's new for me. I want to see it. I want to see experience or whatnot. And
Mhm.
there's the fact that it incorporates dance, but it also made me think about, and this is one of the things that like I'm looking forward to the community having all these different experiences as I have mine and I have some different, but it's like it puts me in the mind of like how most cultures have some form of dance and or like mixed martial arts or just different ways of being in relationship with God, because it's like the movements themselves are gifts, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like thinking about the fire dancers that they have like in the Middle East and in Hawaii and just different cultures. I'm thinking of martial arts. There's so many different forms of dance. It's almost like cooking because
Yep.
that's been pretty much cooking has been my creative outlet since I was probably 9. And so when I think the way my brain works is when I think of one thing that I don't understand, I immediately pair it to something that I do understand. And
Hmm.
then I'm literally watching my brain do this, like expand it out and just to help others understand how simple something that sounds so complex can be. Like to find the simplicity in complex things to where people that may not be used to it say something like, "Oh my God, no, that's dangerous." It's like, no, but look at this. Now look at this, because it's really a form of layering. When I hear you explain it, first it's dance, then there's martial arts, then just the gross motor skills that it takes to hold those blades between the toes. There's so many different things that I can teach from one from one little deal. Now I see why my oldest son told me. He's like, "Mom, growing up with you, every day of my life was like playing chess." I said, "What?" like, I,
What?
like I'm happy with the outcome, but I don't know if that was meant to be a compliment or not. But he's ready,
There
and
you
also,
go. You taught him some skills,
yeah,
how to maneuver this world called life.
then
Yeah.
he said ultimately that he liked the balance and that if he has kids one day, he would raise his kids the way. Because I always question him, like, when you see this, how do you take that? How do that? Because I understand that we can look at the same thing and not see the same thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that in having conversations like this, I want to open up the ideology of when people have conversations, it be okay to ask more questions or to put clarifying statement in for the sake of understanding, because I believe that's something that will decrease misunderstandings. A lot of fallouts, a lot of relationships, a lot of communities are ruined over miscommunications, I believe.
True.
And so it's like, I believe that communication itself is an art and a form of love. And so
So true.
when I made this conscious decision to kind of walk away from religion itself and just be in relationship with God, I
Mm-hmm.
believe that one of the things that He's wanted me to express from a place of love, because He is love, is that communication really is key.
That's
And
true.
when we can have these open conversations, laugh, ask these types of questions, it's like, oh wait, even though I've never saw that, I can see it
Mm-hmm.
because of this idea of layering, to know that that possibility, and because I know you and I trust you, you saw it, it's true. And so I think that I'm hoping that, let me say that, I'm praying that pieces of this conversation lands to make people, and even myself, less fearful of the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
because that in itself unlocks, so much mental clutter more than anything. And so I'm loving this conversation.
I'm enjoying this too because the thing is, I think in songs I really went into the unknown. Okay, Frozen. But anyway, for a time I helped raise some nieces of mine, and so yes, I got to see Frozen at least 20 times. So
Oh my goodness.
so
So
that's
now
why.
you asked me the other day, because I
Mm.
said I'm a Disney kid, and you like
Uh,
laughing, like, which one? So is that one your movie? Is that like, if you were a Disney princess, which one which one would be your number one that you grab, that you roll with?
it's difficult because it's funny because our representation is very limited until Black Panther came out.
Hmm.
Um, but the one that's the adventurous one for me is Moana.
I can
That's
see
the
that.
one. That's totally me. I would be the one going off on a ship and let's go.
You
Yeah,
know
let's go
what?
figure this out.
That's
So in terms of her character, I totally resonated with her because that's how I felt. I'm the only one in my family who's done what I've done. Well, actually, I have a niece. She's done sort of what I did. She went to school in Norway, like the one I went to in Hong Kong. She went to Norway, then she went to the US, and now she lives in Australia. So the
Mm.
two of us, I guess. But
Mhm.
in terms of extent of travel and what I've done, I think I still be the top one in my family,
Yeah.
because I've done all sorts of things that I know. Because even when I was in Zimbabwe for 14 years, I did manage to go and work in different African countries, and using theater versus oppression. That's another whole story about
Mhm.
communication and healing,
Mhm.
where the assumption is that 97% of our communication is nonverbal. So when
Mhm.
you're dealing with traumatized communities, I was doing
Mhm.
peace building and conflict resolution at the time. And so I learned about theater versus oppression, and actually was by the late Augusto Boal. He was a political prisoner in the 1960s in Brazil. And so when he and his fellow prison mates were released back into community, they couldn't relate because they were so traumatized, but there wasn't a space to process their trauma. So he
Mhm.
came up with a process of theater games where it brings us back to our natural way of being as children. We love to play, we love to laugh, we love to just use all of our body to express ourselves, right? So he did that, and then he also inserted some therapeutic exercises throughout. And even though
Mm.
it's supposed to be non-verbal, you have a blast. And then you also do intense exercises, reflection. And then the beauty, another aspect that I loved was not only breaking apart, the stigmas of whatever your trauma, you may feel like you're alone and isolated, it's only happening to you, but the forum theater aspect where you get small groups of people who share their problems with each other, right? That's
Mhm.
therapy within itself. Then they pick one problem that they act out in front of the whole audience. Then the audience replaces the main character and acts out a solution. So it's one thing to tell somebody what to do, it's another thing to
Yeah.
show them. And they can see the responses of the people who may be affected by whatever solution they propose. And
Mhm.
so I ended up doing that with children from as young as 4 years old to adults over 60 in like four African countries.
Okay.
Because it started in Zimbabwe in 2008, when in the aftermath of political violence. I was asked by my Belgian friends to work at a childcare center in Harare called Chiedza Childcare Center. Not named after me, but it happened to be called Chiedza. And so the counselors were saying, look, they have an after school program where children come for a meal, get help with the homework, and then they go home. And so the counselors were saying, so many of these children have been so traumatized by all the political violence that they witnessed, but nobody's talking. Can you do something? Was basically what they asked. So I just went for 3 sessions. I always had counselors present because I may unlock some things, but they are the ones who deal with the collateral in a way, not in a bad way, right?
No, I
But
understand.
but it just literally, I had them laughing and rolling on the floor within seconds. And they're like, "Who is this crazy auntie?" And I was making them run and play and have fun. And then I made them do all these intense exercises for 5 minutes. Then I switched it around, and then I do then at the end, the last half hour, we did the forum theater aspects.
Mhm.
And even just after that first session of 2 hours, the counselors were overwhelmed by how many children were ready to talk. And so that's where I realized the power of play and the power of laughter is so healing in so many ways, because we're not given the vocabulary of how to articulate our feelings. None of us were, right? But we
Mhm.
all know how to play. We all know
Right.
how to have fun, and we know how to be good friends to each other, right?
Mhm.
And so that's was my offering for a couple of years, in African context. Though it was paid piece by piece by different NGOs and things like that. Not a career maker, but it was something that I was able to do, and I saw how impactful it was in people's lives. Where even some parents were coming up to me saying, "What have you done to my son?" I'm like, "What?" It's like, he's changed completely, because teenagers, they act up or whatever, but it's also that
Mhm.
peer
Mhm.
correctingness of,
Mhm.
okay, if your peers are showing, no, you can't do that to your grandmother.
Excuse me.
Oh, bless you. And so it's also the self-correcting aspect and realizing the intelligence we all have, no matter what your age is. I mean, I had 6-year-olds acting like they're 45-year-old policemen, right? And it was like a caricature, every detail, every gesture. And you're like, dang, we need to be careful. These kids absorb everything we do. And even
Yeah.
I saw one who says, no, kids don't follow what you say, they model what you do.
What you do?
And
Yeah.
so just being very aware of that, that, okay, you may tell me something, but you doing something opposite. I'll follow what you're doing. Because
Yeah.
that's, yeah, yeah. So anyway, so that's that part. Yep.
That's what made me ask you earlier, and you answered it, but technically you added in more of what they taught you. But that was why I added that question of what did you learn from your parents' nonverbal cues? But you did answer it because you saying like how you saw how people would come to her and ask her questions. So you're paying attention to how even though she's dressed this way, you're seeing how people are treating her. So like, oh, we're flying and most people are not flying. And
Hmm.
so you're able to put those cues together, you even as a child. But more importantly, you literally just articulated the deeper meaning of my class that I couldn't articulate, because again, it's a class that I kind of it's not a new creation. It was a co-creation with God. So he just allowed me to recreate it in different ways.
Hmm.
But it's something that I consider offering while abroad, just to have a way to impact and teach and work with people, because I know the way the class is taught, you don't necessarily need to know the language. We can
Yeah.
actually just I can know as long as I say a few words. Me, for on my end, I'm learning words of saying what I'm looking for, and I'm
Uh-huh.
just replacing out that blank. But they are actually using the AI, the computer, to go and find the picture for it. So once they show me their picture, it's like, okay, yes, no, we're not thinking the same thing. So
Hmm.
that get off the couch, down. Um, I'm so in this conversation that one of the dogs done climbed on the couch.
Oh,
um, but this was a way for me to break down barriers, but the way to know that it's actually a thing and not something that I think is a thing
yeah.
is really quite consoling, because I up until and this is the wild part, because I've been teaching this class flawlessly for 2 years, but then when I brought it back out to adults, I had to reprove to myself. And it wasn't that anybody had said anything, because Judy Ann's did it, and I've had a few people in my household. And so I'm like, am I tripping? Is it really this easy? But it really is. It's really like the first thing I packed outside of bathing suits, is I grabbed Uno cards, and I grabbed some little games, so that if I
Hmm.
meet people while I'm abroad, it's like everybody likes games, and if not, I
Yeah.
could teach you how to play it. And
Yeah.
it's such an easy concept. And so
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Cool.
Um, I also wanted to know, when it comes to you turning purpose into pain, you've written about transforming pain into power. Was there a moment where silence became too heavy to carry alone?
That was the summer after my freshman year. So being me, I used to, people used to see wherever they saw in me. So I was in Minnesota. The assistant dean of students, James Robinson, he saw something in me, and so he got me to go to a personal development workshop 4 times in one summer in Chicago. And so after the second session, I woke up in a friend's, because she was hosting me in a friend's apartment, and I said, "Oh, I was sexually abused as a child." And I never said a word until that moment. And I was what, 20 at the
Mm-hmm.
time? Because our bodies help us to protect ourselves from certain things that we're not willing to face or deal with. So, as much as you saw that bubbly Chedza doing everything all over under the sun, for 7 years, three uncles were busy having their way with her. Um, and my parents didn't know about it. I didn't say anything between the ages of 4 and 11. And so when I was in Chicago, I am 10,000 miles away from my parents, from my family. Who do
Mm-hmm.
I turn to? But I still remember how I coped with it. Like, remember I said singing and laughter was my medicine?
Mm-hmm.
I used to also have these days where I'd go up into the attic and boarding school when I was in high school, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd just cry for hours. And my friends would come find me, but to this day they didn't know what I was crying about,
Mm.
because that was my body needing to release. But
Yeah.
it's only in retrospect that I look back at it that that was my way of healing, even though I didn't say anything, right? And that's why the whole
Mm-hmm.
theta versus suppression aspect model appealed to me, because I got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to campus. I was struggling with some stuff. I managed one of my friends who was actually one of the psychologists and psychiatrists on campus. She said, when I shared my story with her, she says, "No, you can come to me, and we can work on this for as long as you need, and you don't pay anything." So that was one of my first aunties. I called it my auntie period that got ignited. So this
Mm-hmm.
is summer of 1998. Then on campus, I think around the first in the fall, early part of the fall, some of the black faculty on campus brought in community members to meet the black students, whether you're African American, to see how they could support us in our very predominantly white setting. Even though it is a liberal arts college, there's still the challenges, right?
Right.
So they all introduced themselves, their professions, what they do, and then they asked us as the students to stand up and say what we needed. I stood up and said, "I need a mother." And I sat down. And I had two women who came up to me. One was my Nigerian mom. To this day, Amma, I love her to this. She was the one who introduced me to everything Nigerian. She gave me
Mm-hmm.
so many clothes. She gave me the food, the pepe soup and the fufu and the goosey soup and all of that. And me crying through all of my eating was so delicious, but I was also crying because it was so hot. Yeah, that was Amma. She had 6 kids at the time, so they were my favorite playground because I'd literally get to her house, drop my stuff at the door. I just roll on the floor with the kids. And we just play and play and play for like an hour, right? And then I'd go to talk to her and like, okay, now I'm ready to talk because I needed to let my body release it. And the kids loved it. Like, "Auntie's here!" And they're screaming and laughing and doing all stuff all over me. And I'm the jungle gym, so yeah. So in terms of that breaking of silence, and then I got introduced to more circles like the Cultural Wellness Center, where Dr. Samarita became her apprentice for 5 years. And
Mm-hmm.
I literally had 14 aunties by the time I left to Minnesota.
I love that.
And so I had different aunties for different things, whether they were even from whether Ethiopian or Nigerian or African American or Haitian or even Native American. I had a Hmong auntie, and I had yeah, Auntie Phoebe. She's Native American, and then my white auntie was, I guess my Caucasian auntie was Janet, who was busy counseling me on campus. And here's the crazy thing:
Mm-hmm.
I would go to her for my weekly session, and then I go to another elder at the Cultural Wellness Center. They would talk to me about the exact same thing every week, and they never met. I'm like, what the heck is this? And it would happen over and over and over again. It's like, no, it's not just them. It's whoever, my ancestors, my mother, whoever is looking out for me and
Mm-hmm.
saying, oh, this child, we know that you're a support team. Make sure she gets this. It used to happen over and over again. I traveled to different states. I'd be adopted on the spot. Oh, New Orleans is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Mama Olaila. Oh, love her to this day. She is one of those bubbly, joyful, like the epitome of joy, who loves kids, who love to empower people through just the basics of life, but always find, even whatever troubles you're going through, find your joy. Find ways you're resilient. You can get through this. That kind of a mom.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she was one of my favorite mamas. I went to New Orleans like 8 times. Who's another one? I didn't. Yeah, I went to a capoeira conference in Oakland. Right, within
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes, my head was on another woman's lap. So my friends were saying, "Oh, is that another one of your aunties?" Like, yeah, I just met her. Like, how do you do this? I'm like, well, they find me. It's not just.
Well, I think it's a spiritual thing. When I first left my home state of Missouri, I
Hmm.
met someone right before I left that was an evangelist. And
Hmm.
she's like, remember to keep your childlike faith, to have childlike faith the
Hmm.
entire time. And then she said, and don't let a man stay with you. And I and at first it was funny, but I understood why she said it, because she
Hmm.
said, just like you've been homeless before and he got you through, if a man that's for you can't provide a home for you, then allow God to work through him, whatever he worked through you. And I was just like, wow. But that was over almost 14 years ago.
Hmm.
But when you meet these people and they like God tell you can drop your guards, and they say stuff that stick with you forever, and we're still connected. We haven't spoken a while,
Yeah.
but she's someone that I'm so similar.
Because I I believe everybody comes into our life for a season or a lifetime, and we never know how that those seasons come and go.
Mm-hmm.
Because even like some of my aunties, even though they played such a huge important life part of my life in those 7 years in Minnesota, some of
Uh-huh.
them I haven't seen again. But I know if I see them again, it'll be like I saw them yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I never have to worry like, oh my god, I haven't spoken to her in all these years. Well, she's still that's not
I
it.
want I want to ask you this other question, and then the other I have like like three more sets of questions because I want to be in respect of your time and make
Sure,
sure
go
I get
ahead.
everything in. But I
Mhm.
want to ask you this question in case it helps someone else, because it should have went with that first one. And it's like, what did healing? You kind of explained it a little bit, but what did healing look like, not as a concept, but as a daily practice?
Oh,
And this was the second part of like going through when you said like you were going up and crying in the attic. It's
mhm,
something that I took as a release.
mhm.
When you realized in your 20s that you really like needed to heal from that experience,
Yeah.
what did your daily practice look like? Something that if someone's carrying something around too heavy for them and they watch this video, what's like some like maybe one, two, three simple concepts that you can suggest for them to do?
Daily rituals of remembering to breathe is the first one. Because so many of us are busy running out in the world and our cells are screaming all outside of us, right? So even being inside of our bodies feels weird. And I remember when I first met Dr. Semirit, I literally ran into the wellness center and she just grabbed me and put her arms around me and said, Chidza, stop. Your cells have been screaming for too long. Stop. And that's where I first learned about healing hugs. I'd always been a hugger, and my friends like, "Oh, you give the best hugs." But healing hugs is when you give like 20-second, 30-second long hugs. Where
Mm-hmm.
all you're doing is taking deep breaths. And what it does to your whole body and your whole parasympathetic system and all the rest of that
Mm-hmm.
completely calms it down, brings you to be present. And whatever needs to be released, even if it's through tears, whatever, it's gone. And then like, okay, I'm human again.
Yeah.
So at the Wellness Center, I'm so grateful for the different elders who taught me different rituals of what they do on a daily basis. I took on what I wanted to do, even just from the ritual of how I dressed. I had a wardrobe of at least 20 different African dresses. I'm not kidding you. By the time I left Minnesota, my aunties were loving like dressing me, and then my Ethiopian auntie, Auntie Brickty, she loved making me the jewelry. I still have some of it.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it I gave away to friends, but I still have some of her jewelry. And so I remembered that the way that I also am starting to feel on the inside of reclaiming my African heritage, though it's funny enough, Zimbabwe doesn't have traditional dresses. So most of the stuff I was wearing was West African, right? But just even that symbolic way of being, I watched how people reacted to me differently, especially even the young African guys who are on campus. They even start calling me mama. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm younger than you. You can't be calling me mama. But I was reminding them, you know what I mean? Just the way that I looked with the headdress and all of that and the full garb. I know I'm not wearing that as much anymore, um, but I realized even just not only how you dressed, but how I started my days in the morning. Doing certain, for me, I did certain meditations. I always made sure I did certain movement. Capoeira was my favorite because that was an almost like a prayer-like experience in
Mm-hmm.
community. When we're singing together, we're playing together, we are basically calling upon the presence of God to be with us. That's literally at the beginning. There's this called this shora where they do this calling, or basically calling God, the ancestors, and all goodwill to
Mm-hmm.
be in the community and in the circle while we play. That's how it starts. And then you start playing, singing all the other songs once the mestre gives you permission to go start playing. So for me, I always found my medicine was first of all making time to be within myself. I used to even it's funny when you hear about people go in silent treatments, like go in silence. I did
Mm-hmm.
that in college. I would literally lock myself away for a weekend, and I'll ask a friend to bring me food. and
Mm-hmm.
and at each breaking, it's funny. I don't know how God synchronizes. My friends would come, they would take me out to go out somewhere in nature. So we go visit a forest, or we go apple picking, or something like that. And so I still really have those memories of, even though I chose to be in isolation, somehow it always be sent to the right people to bring me out of it into
Mm-hmm.
nature, which is a continuation of that. And then I come back like, okay, I'm Chetza again.
Yeah.
So those are some of the main ways that I take care of myself. Drinking lots of water is always, even my nieces know that auntie's always got a bottle of water.
Yeah.
because you can actually heal most of our ailments by drinking lots of water and flushing it out. A lot of us are too dehydrated, unfortunately. But yeah, but then again, you also question the quality of the water. Yeah, that's another story.
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm totally with you on that. And I'm now going to put you on the spot. Uh,
No, go for it.
so like, I haven't made the official announcement, but I've been hinting around the idea of me, yeah, leaving and going abroad for a while.
Hmm.
And this between yesterday and today, because I wanted to originally be gone for 3 months, and I may still, I don't know. But I got it to 40 days and 40 nights with God, and it came from I guess I can call it a revelation from my 40th birthday last year. I'll be turning 41 this month. And so for my birthday, I want to gift myself the gift of God, of just spending 40
Hmm.
days and 40 nights with him and nurturing this particular community. And
Yeah.
so this interview is not was, but it's very special to me because as you have started the ball rolling on this year's induction of members of the new everything, um, one of the things that I want to do is have regular check-ins while I'm out so that my community that's invested in me know that I'm safe and I'm also invested in them. And
Hmm.
so one of the things that I'll propose once I get the other platform sorted out is meeting in a virtual meditation space some mornings, and some days we meditate. Sometimes like we'll take turns. And so like the martial arts movements, it won't be on a live, but it'll just be for those that are in the community and in attendance, if you would be open to teaching us
Hmm.
how you do that. And we'll have our cameras on, and we'll have designated times where we'll wake up and we may like meditate together, or sometimes in the evening. But this is everything you're saying is a part of the spaces and the communities that we're building and creating. And so I want to ask you if you would come when you come in completely, if you'll be open to teaching us some of these cool things, because I think you're awesome.
Thank you, love. Thank you. Yeah,
So
I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to share that. Oh,
I'm gonna.
and then I missed one important part of the healing aspect
Okay.
actually that I missed, which I
Hmm.
shouldn't have. Actually, I learned to play an instrument my great grandmother used to play,
Which one?
the mbira, which is oh, hold on one moment. Let me just quickly pop off and hopefully I can see it. So this is the mbira,
Hmm.
right? And so I know some people call it thumb piano, but the mbira has been around for centuries. And my great grandmother used to play it in her healing ceremonies. But I did not know about her. And funny enough, I learned how to play this in Berkeley, California from a Jewish American woman. Yeah, that's another story. But God is interesting because in my sophomore year, I was trying to figure out, okay, I'm learning all this stuff. What's the point of this education? How relevant is it to my home context? And so, as part of my healing and reclaiming of myself, I said, I need to know my own indigenous roots because, unfortunately, in our colonial education, I was never taught anything about Zimbabwe at all. It was
Hmm.
all British, American, and Asian history. It was what we were taught, right? So even that negation of your hunu, your personhood, at the educational level has its ongoing scars, right? So
Yes.
I learned to play the mbira. I went to Berkeley, California. Erica Zim actually happened to have been married to a Zimbabwean at some point, and her last daughter is called Chiedza. So she taught me all these songs. And I went back home to Zimbabwe. It was a study abroad program where we traveled around the country for 3 weeks. That's how God made it at Y2K, turn of the century.
Hmm.
So I looked at my bit. I was like, and then where's my grandmother? I was like, Booyah, look what I can play. And so I started playing the bita and singing a song called Chiguaya. And she started sobbing, saying, how can my granddaughter who's been to China and the US come home playing my mother's song? Because until that moment, I did not know about my grandmother's story, my great
Hmm.
grandmother's story.
Hmm.
And so again, whereas feel that, as much as the healing happens on the individual level, it's also multi-generational. And
Hmm.
how my great grandmother came back to me through the Mbira
Hmm.
was my saving grace. Because yes, the Mbira became a very part of my daily playing and self-healing as well as the different rituals I mentioned. The Mbira is
Hmm.
also very much a cornerstone of that.
I'm happy you added that. Yesterday I was contemplating. I've never had an opportunity to even try to play an instrument, and
Okay.
I am 100% in love with the violin and the cello. So
Beautiful.
I've considered purchasing a violin before I go, because some of the places that I'll stay, I'll be out in the jungle, like
Okay.
staying in a villa, not like sleeping out with lions
Mhm.
and tigers and bears. And so, but I figured that if it's going to be my first time playing an instrument while I'm like out in the wilderness with God, I won't sound horrible.
There you go. You'll learn very quickly, I'm
It'll
sure.
allow me to be like comfortable in my practicing and know that I'm
Mhm.
not disturbing anyone. And so
Yeah.
I've considered to take an instrument with me, if
Mm.
not that, something else. But I want to learn a language and an instrument before I come back,
Yeah.
and a new way of meditation. So it's like you just got me super excited. But I let me get to the other question. So I'm going to ask you two at a time, so I make sure
Sure.
we get through them all. So
Mhm.
these two are: you often say we're raising creators and not consumers. What does digital fluency actually mean beyond knowing how to use the tools? And the second question is, what excites you most about AI's potential in African communities, and what concerns if you hold on, I said that wrong. And what concerns if we don't act now?
Okay. So when you're talking about literacy and relevance, it's like with any tool, it's mainly about solving problems in your own community and adding value. So that's the grounding I'm coming from. Because as much as people want to, basically, if you think about any business, it's solving a problem that people are willing to pay for, right? That's the essence of a business. And we've been trading businesses way before colonialism came in and even all this AI stuff came up, right? So it's remembering that we've always been that way as people, right? Offering value, exchanging value, finding ways to solve community problems. We've been given different tools and ways to look at how to solve those problems over the years, over the centuries. So in this time of AI, and yes, African AI Auntie came out as a result of one of my nieces who's studying in India, sent me a message last year saying, Auntie, how do I make money online? Because as an international student, you're restricted as to where you can work. You can't work and earn as much, right? So working online is basically you can make as much money as you want and nobody can stop you. It's not geographically tied per se, right? Whether you go on the socials of TikTok or YouTube, etc., right? You can do it from anywhere in the world and still get paid in good income. So African AI Auntie, I was trying to, as a way to answer her question, but also resolve an ongoing pain for myself, where I'm always looking at what is the relevance of education? Even I've got all these degrees and certificates. How do I translate those into income? Because unfortunately, our education systems, I believe, are failing globally. And I keep hearing it over and over again, whichever continent the people are in, that the education is not catching up with what is needed right now in this day and age, right?
Yeah.
Still being taught history from 1980s, 1990s, which have no relevance to our current context. So for me, I looked at how do we develop skills, right? Because we all are consuming all the social media stuff, right? But why can't we create it? And why can't we tap into our own inner genius? And actually, before I even started African AI, I did research a couple of stories all over the continent, and I found beautiful stories of hearing of, a young man in Malawi. He's generating electricity from air and powering his village and his community, and is finding ways to develop that into a business. There's also these two brothers in Nairobi who have created robotic hands that are translating sign language into voice. There's even using more directly in terms of, I'm hearing over and over again how in agricultural contexts, people are finding ways to use AI tools to combat climate change and increase crop yield and combat against certain pests, right? And then there's a young lady I heard of in Nigeria who created an app that grades 500 assignments in 200 seconds. Now, if you think of the context of the university, if you have a class that's at least over a couple hundred students and you give them assignments every other week, that's a lot of work for professors to go through. So she came up with a solution which makes it much easier, much faster, not only for the professor to grade the assignments, but then also to give feedback to the students that's more constructive. So, in that context, whatever we are looking at developing skills, right now, everybody's looking at more digital skills of, okay, can you solve problems in terms of going through all this paperwork and making it make sense and make me be able to synthesize which business trends are more popular in my business. And this is for more small to medium organizations. It's not even looking at the big corporations to say, I'm just looking at, okay, even in my community, the kiosk owner over there, the barber shop over there, the hair salon over there, they all need visibility, right? Most
Mm-hmm.
people only just know about Facebook. But right now, especially with all these digital skills and tools, the way that we use social media, just as much as we're consuming TikTok videos left, right, and center, why can't we be promoting our own stuff, right?
Right.
And in bridging that gap, I know the youngsters are probably more tech savvy and faster at it than us older people. So what I was proposing, even through the 5 AI hustles that I created, and it's all in my africanaiaunty.com platform, is even with your smartphone, because most of us, 99% of us, especially on the African continent, even globally, are on our phones. So you can actually do 5 hustles just from your phone with zero money. One as a tutor, another one even creating captions for businesses, creating flyers, doing social media campaigns. You could do research as an assistant and even do data analytics, right? Just using WhatsApp, ChatGPT, Canva, and Google Sheets. And I distilled it to just start with those ones because there are hundreds and hundreds of AI tools coming out every left, right, and center. But I was just trying to give a bit of an anchoring that this is an entry point that young people, especially university or young professionals, can use, that they can actually then turn into fully fledged businesses once they understand how they use the tools like ChatGPT, advertise it on through WhatsApp, gain, and even Facebook, and get customers, but solving their local context. And then from there, it's also giving them proof because a lot of people are saying, okay, I know some of the pain points we'll be addressing the global summit that's coming up is a lot of the students are mainly saying, look, I have certificates, but I have no real job or traction. I don't meet global standards, but I don't know what they are. Or, for example, I'm invisible on LinkedIn and I don't get any responses or traction.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know how to talk to recruiters or professionals without sounding desperate or salesy. Another one is I may apply for international roles but never hear back. I know that one very well because I applied for over 700 jobs in Zimbabwe for over 14 years and never once got called in for an interview. So I know that pain point very well. Or I have the skills but have no idea how to position them globally. So when I share that, it's mainly yeah, because I my main point is this, that whatever educational process we're going through, at the end of the day, we're supposed to be able to take care of ourselves and provide for ourselves and our families, right? The tools that we're using have changed because we are in the global digital age. So a lot of people are trying to figure out how do I get to be hired by companies who need these kinds of skills. I'm mainly advocating start practicing them at the local level in your own community, in your own village, in your own town. And
Mm-hmm.
so by the time you apply for these jobs, you're not only going to them and say, okay, I graduated with this degree or certificate, but here's proof of how I actually applied these skills that I could also apply in your company context. So that's the way that I'm mapping it. And also with the Global Compass Summit, yes, we will be going into those pain points in more depth with our panel of speakers. Yeah, there we
I
go.
want you to jot down or just put in the chat for me the
The pain
five
points.
go to the five go to ways of making money using AI, and
Sure.
we'll sculpt out a separate conversation for weekday so that we could actually not just talk about these positions because the problem is as well. We've had the conversation about small business owners being able to hire people from other countries because that's something that's actually an affordable fix for someone who cannot afford that a data analyst here in the states, for example.
Uh-huh.
And so, what I want to do is I want to have a separate conversation because I told you I want to get set up a intern incubator off of your program for the community to
Sure.
where I go out and find local businesses that are willing to pay. We need to educate them on why they need these people because not every entrepreneur understands what these roles the role that they play in their business. So there are people that need them, that have the money to hire them at a fair wage for where they are, or
Yes.
above a fair wage for where they are, but they
Hmm.
don't necessarily know that they need their business, because most entrepreneurs, what I'm finding out, is do not understand marketing. And
Yeah.
so my background being in sales and marketing, I am able to fuse those together, because just because you have it doesn't mean people see it. And that's
Exactly.
the roadblock that most people are coming up against. And so I want to be able to, because as I hear you say that, I'm automatically thinking of so many businesses that I can help right now that will want my help, that I don't have time to help,
Yeah.
but I'm prepared and willing to use some of the interns once they're through your program. They go, if they sign up for internship, it can be a paid internship that could lead to more permanent positions. But this is a way that we are able to solve these some of these problems together at a from a local international perspective, that takes
Exactly.
them out and puts them in a position of being seen globally, as well as doing the same thing for our young adults that are here in America that are looking to expand in their relationships internationally. So do it both ways, having the youth in Africa helping businesses here in America, and having some of the youth in America helping businesses grow in Africa.
Yep.
And if you did it simply from local to local level, it's actually quite affordable, because
Yep.
local businesses in Africa can hire and will make more money pairing with a young adult in America, just because they're American, if their brand is in alignment.
Yeah.
And the same thing, taking someone, a business in America, they could really change someone's life in Africa. And if the vision is in line, to just be powerful. And so I really love that the idea of the bridge, I had an idea over 20 years ago of being a bridge that was built between America and Africa, because
Hmm.
it's like we need each other way better than we even know. Like we know we need each other, that we've been disconnected.
That's true.
But for me, the way to propel to the future is literally through community,
Yep.
community and technology. Like to take, I say I'm an artist of community, where I weave people using technology from around the world, because without it, there's no way I could be in all these different, places.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna cut some of our questions short and save them for last time, out of respect for your time. But before we go, I want to make sure that I get this in about the summit.
Hmm.
Um, that's what we're here for. We're here to like be able to help people propel forward. So you're hosting a free AI summit on digital fluency. What made you decide to make this knowledge accessible, and who is the summit really for?
Well, Uh, the idea actually was triggered to me from my business coach, Dr. Ava Eagle Brown. I like to give flowers to who it needs to go to, because even though I'd written the AI plus digital entrepreneurship blueprint, which basically breaks down these AI hustles that I mentioned, she was always saying, but okay, as much as they may learn these skills, how are they interacting with international people? Because we know that people would prefer to be paid in US dollars and earn more in terms of in stronger currencies than their local currency. And so it also came from a main pain point on how we've been approached on LinkedIn by certain people, where basically it's the very first message without even any conversation, no real knowledge about who I am. They tell me, oh, you need to do this to your brand. I even got one, yeah, I got actually three. But I'll talk about one who said, hi, smiley face. I see. I think your brand needs better work. I don't think it's working for you. Schedule an appointment with me. I'm like, who are you? And you don't know me. You've never had a conversation with me, but that's your first approach on how you approach people. It's very off-putting. And then you're shutting yourself from opportunities because that's the way you approach me. Whereas with some other youngsters, actually, one I can even commend one who's actually on my ambassador team. He approached me in a more conversational way, complimenting me about my what I'm doing, right? Asking questions to really want to know, to get to know what I'm doing, right? From there, we then had a one-on-one. So that's a very different approach, rather than putting your sales things first in my face, rather than actually I'm curious to learn how can I be of help from that point of view. So that's some of the stuff we'll be addressing as well as the visibility aspects, the six pain points that I listed. I've got eight, well, it's a total of eight of us confirmed. to be
Mhm.
speaking on the 24th. Can't believe it's going to be actually in 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks today. so, so that's what and so my main reason was, again, to bridge the gap from education to skills development to,
Mhm.
because we know that, entrepreneurship is not easy. We know that. They say what, about 80% of people actually fail. Not that I'm saying they fail, but
Mhm.
the usefulness of practicing the skills then positions you better when you're approaching to apply for jobs in bigger companies and bigger contexts to grow your career. So it's almost like a skills development process, as well
Yeah.
as also teaching you on how do you approach possible future employers, how do you present yourself in your LinkedIn, your resume, even how do you speak in those conversations in answering their interview questions. So that's some of the stuff we'll be touching on in the summit.
Okay. And before we close, tell people where they can find you and how they can join the Free AI Summit on digital fluency and if they're ready to build and not wait. Also, I want you, because we have 2 minutes left,
Sure.
so I want you to tell people how to find you and how to register. And I also want you to tell us, what does it sound like to ask for help in your world?
Okay. So the first part, to get in touch with me, I'm usually on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the easiest way to find me. So you're welcome to DM me there. To sign up for the summit, even if you find me on LinkedIn, you'll see plenty of ads on, well, not ads, on posts about the summit. My website, africanaiauntie.com, has it right there. So you can also click on the Global Campus Summit. You get a free holiday gift that comes with it. It's a summary of the AI hustles, but I've actually created a course that goes into it in more depth of step by step on how to do it. And then in terms of asking for help, well, it's more of, huh, that one I can't just give a blanket answer because it's again relationship based.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when people say, how do I ask for help? It's more of starting a conversation, even if you just find me online. Start with a compliment, even wherever you want to start building a relationship with. The easiest way to have people lower their defenses is by complimenting them. Find something interesting about their profile on LinkedIn and send them a complimentary connection message. You just don't click connect. You say, "Oh, I came across your profile. I saw this and this about you. I'm curious to learn more from you," and leave it at that, right? As an invitation. And then you continue. But then again, the Global Compass Summit, where actually we are bringing all these people together, it is a community that is being built. I do have a WhatsApp group, the AI Plus Digital Entrepreneurship Blueprint community on WhatsApp. That also, you can find the details on africanaiauntie.com as to how you can join. So basically, just go to africanaiauntie.com. You'll find a lot of it. Even if you want to schedule a 15-minute coffee with me, that's the best way actually to actually get my attention,
Mhm.
because very few people do that. So if you really want help, get on my schedule. Let's see how we can start the conversation.
Well, I have one last one for today,
Oh,
on our big ask, and that is, I want, if you watched this interview for this long and you've heard everything that we've talked about, please like and share this message. Register for the summit, and if you are a small business looking to be involved, we're open and we're looking for sponsors. And so the event takes place in 3 weeks. If you want your business highlighted to show that this is an agenda that you support, there will be sponsorship opportunities. Is that correct?
yes.
We have sponsorship opportunities, and because we really want to help Chiesa push this message forward and get this to as many young people and adults. A lot of what she does is for the youth, but there are so many adults that need it, and there are paid classes that are actually affordable between myself and her in terms of getting people into their transformation and into the next stages. And we're doing it mostly as a community, but there are individual opportunities available. So, again, share this message, join the summit, sponsor the summit, or DM Chiesa on LinkedIn. Go to her website, or if you know me and you want me to connect you, just DM me and I'll put together the connection. Until next time, thank you for joining in, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for this conversation, my dear. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.